before I even start, there's something that it's very personal to me. I really need to share this, and I thank all of you for really making this happen. And that is that I realized while I was sitting there, this is the first time this year that I didn't have to do lunch duty today. So if you haven't been in a middle school cafeteria during lunchtime, you have no idea how loud it is. So thank you for having a little serenity today. So my name is Vincent Gassetto. I am the principal of Middle School 343, which is a small middle school in the South Bronx. We have just under 300 students. And it's in the poorest congressional district in our country, okay? A stat that we are very proud of is that we are one out of only 20 schools in all of New York City that have received 6 consecutive A's on our report card. So yay to 343, it's very big. And last year, while I was talking, I got to discuss this amazing opportunity we had to send the entire school to see the show Spider-Man. And I spoke about the impact that had both on myself, but more importantly on my students. And before I left, I spoke about, and I urged the audience and anybody else who was listening to jump on board because it's really important and it was something that everybody should kind of get into. So I have a video here that you're going to see that shows kind of where we've gone over the past year. So enjoy.
Today we are here so that you can hear some of the music and you're going to help sing some of the songs.
We are at a school in the Bronx and we are talking to a group of kids who actually came to see the show.
A lot of my students haven't even been to a Broadway show, so to be able to see that show and have these actors and cast members come here and speak to them, it means everything to them.
To find out one thing that you truly love and never let it go. Follow your passion and anything's possible.
Using math and science in the theater is something that we do all the time. Those people, the way that we fly Spider-Man around in the theater, it's all engineering.
Dare to dream. There are all kinds of opportunities. What are your dreams? What are your dreams? What do you want to do? You want to be an actor?
When you get in the room for an audition, it doesn't matter where you went to school. So you can have whatever background in the world, it doesn't matter.
You don't have to fly too high to get too close to the sun. Yeah, see the boy fall from the sky.
I think it's important because they get to see different things and not actually see it just on TV. They can see it live. It's special because of their reaction. Like if you've never been to one, you first now seeing one, it's like, oh my God. I talk to my little cousins about Broadway shows because I know they've never been to one and I know their parents always like see it on the news and stuff. And I like to see their reactions to what I tell them, how amazing it was. It's really cool. Probably even one of them will work on Broadway. I say that because my little cousin Haley, she likes to perform and dance since she was real little. So I'm pretty sure she'll end up on Broadway. I wouldn't think Haley would have ever heard of Broadway if I would have never went.
When I was younger, I always wanted to see Broadway plays like Wicked and The Lion King. And once I got to MS 343, I got to see one and I was like, wow.
At first, I thought it was just for like people that was rich and famous, and now I know that it's for anybody.
I think getting the chance to see it live is just like another opportunity for me to witness stuff that I don't usually do. Because I read tons of books, I watch tons of movies, but I don't really get to see plays. So it's kind of big to me. It's a big deal.
It's like you really get to connect with the story in the play. It's like in the book you're just reading it. It's like for me when I read a book, it's like I don't really connect with it. I just think about it. But with the play, I just feel connected to it.
I never heard about Broadway before coming to 343.
One day I would like to take my family to see a Broadway show because it was a really nice experience, you know. You like, for example, the Spider-Man trip. You saw people flying everywhere. It was just wow.
I think it's important to experience Broadway because it's like it gives you a different outlook on everything, like how you see everything. Like you can You can go and be like, oh, I want to be this when I grow up, and then you go see a Broadway show and you're like, well, I can do that.
When I grow up, I want to be a rapper, or maybe even a basketball player.
When I grow up, I want to be a paleontologist.
I want to be an artist or a dancer.
I want to be a veterinarian or a doctor.
An artist and a daycare owner.
Okay, so that video I've seen countless times, and my wife, who wasn't here to claim her prize, has seen it too many times, and she's getting sick of it, but it literally still gives me the chills today. So we're going to talk a little bit about it, but before I do, that video is possible for a number of people, some who are here today, so this is going to be like my Academy Award moment where I'm going to put some thanks out there because I think it's important to do it publicly. So Damien Bazadana and the amazing people of Situation Interactive for pretty much taking my school and adopting us and making all this possible. Ann Tanaka, who I think is here, and the awesome people from Spider-Man, who not only invited us to their theater, but then sent over 30 cast members and crew up to the school to share their stories with my kids, and then put on a live performance in my auditorium, which was just unbelievable. The people of Lincoln Center and Warhorse, the people at Disney and Mary Poppins, Signature Theater and the piano lesson, even Mamma Mia. All of you, this is just my public thank you for making that possible, and the past year that we've had amazing. Thank you. Yes. They deserve all the credit for making that happen. So I don't have a lot of time, and I have a lot to say, so I'm going to kind of speak like I do at school, which is fast and loud. Last year I spoke about my belief that schools plus Broadway equals infinite possibilities, and I think if you watched that video, you saw that this isn't just an idea we were talking about, we made it reality. And if you're going to hear and remember anything that I say today, it's that myself used this platform a year ago, and we were able to get that accomplished, and I think that is amazing. We took students in the South Bronx who a year ago knew nothing about Broadway, and if you saw the video last year, you know that. They knew nothing about Broadway, and now, a year later, we've sent them and they've been exposed to several different shows, and they not only is Broadway on their radar, but they have a little interest there, and they're curious, and they want more, and that's the beauty of what we've been able to do this past year. So why is that important? I'm going to talk about 3 quick things, and I'm going to talk fast again. If you need a timeout, let me know. I'm used to that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the plan, the model that we have, and then the neighborhood I'm coming from and the students in that neighborhood. One is the plan. It's very simple, but it's effective. We pick shows that are going to do a little bit more. Those talk-back sessions and spending a little bit of time afterwards to answer questions with the students, that's what makes this impactful. The other piece that we did is we kind of booked these shows over the summer, so I had time to plan. So I sat down with my teachers and we discussed, how are we going to make this even more meaningful for our kids. For an example, when we saw Warhorse, I sent my 8th grade. So I knew back in July or August that we were going to go in early December. So I went out and bought the Warhorse book, we bought the movie, and we made this a whole unit so that when they went there, one, they had confidence, they had background knowledge about what they were going to see, but then when they came back to the school, we kind of connected everything together, and it just was amazing. So that's kind of the model. There's a lot more to it, but the next thing is the neighborhood. So the neighborhood's interesting. I'm guessing not a lot of you spend much time in the South Bronx. Broadway doesn't exist there. They don't talk about Broadway. They don't think about Broadway. If you heard one of the students in there said that when he was a kid, he would go with his mother to Times Square and he would see Wicked and The Lion King, and he never thought it would happen. So they just don't have these discussions about Broadway, but they're interested in it. So we need to find a way to make this a reality for them. So I know that it's not part of their culture for 2 reasons. One, I live it every single day, and the other thing is I did a little research, and I was able to find, the internet is beautiful, that last year in 2012, less than 200 orders were placed from my neighborhood for Broadway. Less than 200. So the interesting thing about that is this year alone, we've already doubled that with my small school of over 300 kids. So think about that impact that it's going to have on you guys in Broadway, because they weren't having these conversations before, but as you listen to these students, they're going home and they're talking to their brothers, their sisters, their aunts, their uncles, the barbershop, whoever is around, and they're talking about what an awesome experience they had at Broadway. And if we can continue this and grow this, just think about this impact that it's going to have on these communities where Broadway currently does not exist. Next, the students in those communities, okay? My students. Yes, they're in it's a low-income area, but these students are awesome. The students that you saw in this video, and I keep pointing there like it's there, but it's not, so just pretend that it is. The students you saw in that video, these are students who currently right now are applying to get into the top high schools in New York City. In a few years, they're going to be applying to get into the top colleges in our country. And a few years from that, we are all going to be competing for them. So it's in everybody's in this room's best interest to make sure that they have an awareness of this industry, or we're never going to win that talent war. And if we're talking about the best Broadway can be, we can't have an honest conversation if we're not discussing them. So before I go, last year before I left, a lot of people came up to me after the conference and they were asking, how do we get involved? This sounds amazing, we want more. And the honest answer I had last year is, I don't know. It was the first time I was really going through that. I was, one man, one school. I couldn't really kind of answer all the emails and the phone calls. So we've changed that. I have 2 other principals in very high-performing schools in low economic areas. These are schools, the principals of MS 319, which is up in Washington Heights, the school of MS 223, which is right around the corner from me in the South Bronx. These are brilliant, awesome principals who are excited about doing this. And the other thing is we created a venue. If you go to situationcares.org, I'll say it one more time, situationcares.org. There's a link on the bottom of the screen that gives you a little bit more information, because we created a platform and a venue on February 27th. We're going to, those other 2 principals, myself, some of the other Broadway companies and shows that have already kind of committed to this, we're going to sit together, we're going to think about what we've already done, how to make it bigger and better, and beyond. So in closing here, I guess, for me, to make sure that this goes and what's the next gauge of this, I guess it would be that I'm not the one up here next year talking about this story. My hope is that whether it's another principal or somebody else, and they're talking about not the 300 students that we've impacted, but maybe the 1,000 students or the 1,000 plus. So this is way too important to ignore. So I hope I see a lot of you there on February 27th, and thank you for letting me talk. Take care.